Okay, guys. So I've got a little hint for you guys for sketching tangent and cotangent also. Okay, since tangent is really sine of x over cosine of x, just sketch the cosine of x. Sketch the one that's in the denominator and put asymptotes where cosine of x equals 0. Then put zeros in between and sketch swooshies. Now you want to remember that tangent is positive swooshies, whereas what we saw with cotangent is that it's a negative swooshy. That's a decreasing function right there, right? Okay. Sketch the graph of tangent of x. Tangent is sine over cosine because it's opposite over adjacent, and the opposite is the y value, and the adjacent is the x value. So y over x, sine over cosine. So look, real quick, I'm going to sketch cosine. Starts at 1, ends at 1, 1 in the middle, and 2 1s right there. So here's a real light version of the cosine function, and then I'm going to go back here, do the same thing. Starts at 1, ends at 1, negative 1 in the middle. Here is the cosine function. Now why did I do that? I wanted those x-intercepts. So I'm going to put vertical asymptotes everywhere that the denominator for tangent, cosine of x, is 0. Okay, then I don't need the cosine function anymore because I know what tangent looks like. It's got zeros right in the middle and it's increasing positive swooshies, right? So let me go right here in the middle and we'll do the first one. It's a positive swooshy that goes through the origin and goes up. So to the right, positive swooshy going up. To the right, positive swooshy going up, and I stop here because my graph stops here. Go backwards, you got a positive swooshy open up. And over here, it starts at the 0 and it just kind of goes up, and I don't draw the left part because, again, I ran out of graph. We learned in our last set of notes that that's the period, and the period for tangent is just pi, right? And if we went through this conversation that we had here, we'll see it again. Start here, and it's positive as a fraction because we're putting x over y, right? Or y over x. Positive, positive, negative, negative, positive, positive, negative, negative. I went through it twice already. So that's why the period for tangent and cotangent are both shorter than the period for sine or cosine. All right, last piece of notes, and we're done for the semester here. Cotangent of x is not sine over cosine, it's cosine over sine. It's the reciprocal. So if you got a graph, here I'll write it real big so you can't miss it in your notes. If you got a graph cotangent of x, sketch the denominator, the sine of x, and put asymptotes where sine of x equals 0. Then put zeros on the axis right in the middle of all of those asymptotes and sketch negative swooshies. So a couple things to remember. You got to remember that cotangent is cosine over sine, whereas tangent is sine over cosine, right? But you could get that from SOHCAHTOA if you take a minute and think about it. And then you got to remember that the cotangent has negative swooshies. So I'm going to graph the sine function real quick. That looks like this. Here we go, graphing the sine function. And I don't really care to have that sine function in my graph. Look, the cosine function just kind of disappears in there. Put vertical asymptotes everywhere you see a 0. Asymptote, asymptote, asymptote. Everywhere I see an x-intercept for the sine function, you get an asymptote. Why? Because sine of x is in the denominator, and that can't be 0 for this fraction. Then I don't write the parabolas. I don't need those. I know what this graph looks like. There are zeros in the middle, and in this case, those are all the half pi's. And then I draw a bunch of negative swooshies. That's the cosine function. If we had more days, guys, we would experiment more with stuff like this. Ready? What if I wanted to graph y equals negative 3 times the cotangent of 2x minus pi over 4 plus 6. I mean, if we had more time, we would flip this thing. We would multiply it by 3, making it taller. We would multiply by 2, which inside the parentheses is backwards of what you'd think. That would shrink it and make these asymptotes closer to each other. We haven't even looked at that yet. We'll just wait and see what happens second semester, and then the plus 6 would just move everything up 6. But we're kind of out of time, so this will be our last set of notes. We will do a review tomorrow. That's Thursday, I think, and then we'll have this test on Friday. So nice job, everybody. You made it through an entire semester watching stupid videos from me talking way too much. Enjoy the break from taking notes.